Pursuant to the order of the House of today, the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Flake, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Arizona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was tempted just to not offer any other amendments and just offer this one, because this one is important for everyone to focus on, because it points at problems not just with the earmark itself, but with the process that we have in the House. And I would submit that we are not following that process as we should. This amendment would strike funding for the Center for Instrumented Critical Infrastructure. The center is to receive $1 million in taxpayer funding in this bill. When searching on the web, my staff and I were unable to find the center's website. I'm not sure whether the center currently exists or whether this earmark creates the center. I would appreciate if the sponsor of this earmark would clear that up. All the bill says is that it funds $1 million for the Center for Instrumented Critical Infrastructure in Pennsylvania. However, when you look at the certification letter that each member now, according to our earmark rules, is required to submit, you see that the earmark is actually going to the Concurrent Technology Corporation based in Jonestown, Pennsylvania. This is a leading earmark recipient in multiple appropriation bills over the years, currently in this year. I believe in the the Intelligence Authorization Bill, this same group, Concurrent Technology, received 2 other earmarks. Why isn't that in the earmark itself, in what we were handed? We only learned that through the certification letter. Is the earmark to go to the Instrumented Critical Infrastructure Center or to Concurrent Technologies? I would love to have that clarified here. With that, I'll reserve the balance of my time.
There's the balance of the time. Is there another member opposed who wants to control 5 minutes? The gentleman from Indiana.
Chairman, I would like to claim the time in opposition to the gentleman's amendment, and I would reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves the balance of his time. The gentleman from Arizona.
If I could ask, I guess I take it the sponsor of this earmark is not here to talk about it, but if I could ask the chairman where the earmark is supposed to go. Does the earmark go to this Instrumented Critical Infrastructure Center, or the Center for Instrumented Critical Infrastructures, or to Concurrent Technologies?
Gentleman yield.
I'm sorry, I did not hear the gentleman's question.
I'm wondering, in the report that accompanied the bill, it mentioned that the earmark was to go to the Center for Instrumented Critical Infrastructures, but the certification letter says that it's going to go to that, but the earmark should actually go to Concurrent Technologies Corporation. Which is it? And if it is to Concurrent Technologies, why it isn't listed?
It is my understanding that it will go to the Center for Instrumented Critical Infrastructure.
Does that center currently exist?
At this time, I do not know. But if it does not exist, the monies could not go to it.
We were told in this process early on by the chairman of the Appropriations Committee that a different process was needed, that the earmark should be added later in conference and not now, because the Appropriations Committee simply couldn't vet or scrub these earmarks well enough. I would submit that this is a perfect example of that. We've had another example. One earmark was actually withdrawn, one on the list that I was to offer, because it hadn't been adequately scrubbed. I would submit that this one should be as well. When the chairman of the relevant subcommittee can't tell us if this center even exists. We don't know if it even exists, if it's created by this earmark. Concurrent Technologies has been the recipient of millions upon millions of dollars over the years. The executives in Concurrent Technologies contribute handsomely to members of Congress. So it receives a lot of earmarks. It seems to be an earmark incubator of some type, an earmark that begets more earmarks. And yet we have the report that comes with the bill that doesn't even mention Concurrent Technologies. It just mentions this center as if it already existed. We don't even know if it does. We can't even find any information on it. And apparently we can't even get that information from the Appropriations Committee. So I would submit that this is what this process is about. This is why we come to the floor. This is why we invite the sponsor of the amendment, who apparently is not here, to defend, the sponsor of the earmark, to defend the earmark. But I would say again, does this center exist? Do we even know if it exists? How do we know if it's a good center or a bad center? Is this Concurrent Technologies, which already receives millions and millions of dollars in other bills, worthy of another earmark to create another center? These are the questions that we have to ask. I'd reserve the balance of my time.
Reserves the balance of his time. Gentleman from Indiana.
I would continue to reserve my time.
Gentleman from Arizona.
I guess I'll finish off. I will call for a vote on this one. I think it's important when members are voting on this earmark and whether to retain it, that we have to know what we know and know what we don't know. We don't know if this center even exists. We are appropriating money for a center where the Appropriations Committee that has a responsibility to vet this earmark can't even tell us here if this even exists. We don't know that. We're voting on an earmark where in the report it says it goes to the center, but here in the certification letter it mentions Concurrent Technologies, a private company. Which is it? If we don't know these facts, we don't know what's going on here, I would say the thing to do is to vote this down, to actually vote for the amendment and wait until the Appropriations Committee actually has time to scrub and to vet these earmarks a little more carefully. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Back is time. The gentleman from Indiana.
And I would yield back my